Okay, good morning. Boker Tov, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us for this special edition of Kabbalah Café. And thank you to Gershom and Rachel Dandy for sponsoring this Kabbalah Café in honor of the Refuah Shlema of Rabbi Yosef Safsel. Toda Rabah. And also, of course, thank you to Mordechai and Raya for broadcasting this shiur live and also posting it on our YouTube channel. One of the issues which a lot of people deal with in the Jewish world and the secular world is how to remain young. People think, and to a certain extent, it's important that a person should be youthful and should be young and full of energy. And based on that, there's a lot of research to try to see how to keep a person young and to keep them away from aging. However, the question is it really true that it's better to be young? Is that the optimal goal? Or is there something very special in the golden years? And of course, the answer is D, all of the above. Each one has something special that the other does not have. To be youthful and young is special, and to be in your golden years is also very special. Let's try to understand what is the importance of each one and how each one does not contradict the other, rather it complements the other. This week we're going to read the two final parshiot of Matot-Massei of the book of Bamidbar, the book of Numbers. And tomorrow in Shul, besides for being Rosh Chodesh Av, the first day of the month of Av, we are going to proclaim after the reading of the Torah, Chazak, Chazak, v'nitchazek. Be strong, and let's all be strong together. Usually, these two parshas are read together. Very seldom are they read individually. Most of the other parshas which can be read together are often read separately. But these parshas of Matot-Massei are almost always read together. In the beginning of Parashat Matot, it says that Moshe spoke to the heads of the Matot. What are the Matot? The tribes. Even here in Israel, when we have elections, so we have a Mateh. Mateh is like the group of a certain party. It's called Mateh. Sometimes the Torah talks to us in the sense that Moshe spoke to the heads of the tribes, Shvatim, a Shevet. Shevet is also a tribe. And sometimes it says that Moshe spoke to the heads of the Matot, like a Mateh, which is a staff. What's the difference between a staff and what's the difference between when we say a shevet and a mateh? Mateh does not only have to mean a tribe. Mateh also means a staff, as well as a shevet. A shevet also means it can be a staff. What's the difference between a staff, a stick, being a mateh or being a shevet? Because really everything is alluded to in its name, as the Baal Shem Tov teaches us. A shevet is a stick which is still connected to the tree, like a branch. So, for example, the Mishnah will tell us the laws of Shabbat, if someone is allowed to pull off from the tree a branch, for which reason? For different reasons that a person would need a stick. So obviously you're detaching the stick from its source. In a sense, that's called killing. Up until now it was alive, but once you separate it from its source, then it becomes independent and then it becomes hard, which is really a mateh. Mateh is a stick after you've already separated it from its source, from the tree. Therefore, the shevet, the branch, has moisture in it. Therefore, you can bend it easier. As opposed to a staff, which has lost its moisture, it's sturdy, unbendable. It is breakable, but you cannot bend it anymore. Obviously, in a great sense, it's better to be a branch, because then the branch is connected to its source, so it's more alive. On the other hand, there is an advantage in the mateh. The mateh, the staff, if someone wants to walk from point A to point B and needs help, needs to lean on something, if he were to lean on the branch, he would go flying. But when he's leaning on the staff, then he stands sturdy. In other words, the shevet, the branch, is easily affected by its surroundings. It can be bent, and it's not so sturdy. But the staff, the stick, after it's been already detached from its source, it's strong-minded. It's not so easily moved and bent by those that dictate for it what to do. So, for example, you have some people that are easily swayed by public opinion or by peer pressure. For very, very aware of what public opinion is and what he does, run his office based on public opinion. Someone who has a very strong opinion, someone who has a very clear opinion is not going to be swayed by what people think. This is what I'm convinced, this is what I think, and no one can push me around. So each concept, we may say, has an advantage over the other. So when it comes to interpersonal relationships, I would say that the most important thing is to be like a branch, to be connected to the source. For a person to realize that we should come towards each other. We should find a way to sort of bend, not to bend on our principles, but to bend towards another person, to come together and to be able to be hand in hand. On the other hand, when it comes to our principles in Yiddishkeit, in Judaism, on our foundations, we are not allowed to bend in any way, shape, or form. And if we're not sure, then we need to consult with a mentor, a Rav, a leader, that they should be able to guide us into which points are considered a staff, unbendable, and which points are considered a branch which we can which we can sort of come towards our colleague, our spouse, or our children, any relationship that we are in. Basically, a person is easily affected by their surroundings. And so, especially when a person is young, a human being is compared to a tree. Ki ha'adam etz hasadeh. For man is like the tree of the field. So, just like a tree, while it's younger, it can be easily directed or redirected if it by mistake went it became a little tilted. You can re-straighten it, but the older that it gets, it's much harder. So too, we are as human beings. We are naturally affected by our surroundings. There's a story that a guy once came into his Rebbe, and he said to him that he sees that his son is bound to be a great person. So the rabbi asked, what are the signs that your son is so great? He says, every rope or string that he finds in the house, he ties them onto his hand as if they're tefillin, and it's clear that he's going to be a great man. So the rabbi said, it sounds nice, but it's come time for you to start davening in shul. So because he's been davening at home, so his son, obviously the best thing is to bring his son to shul, and then his son sees all the tefillin that's being put on in shul, and sometimes he can try to put on tefillin to copy and to be like the older people. What's the idea? The idea is that when we are younger, especially a child is like a sponge. And a sponge, when it comes in contact with the liquid, it becomes totally saturated with that liquid. Sometimes you cannot even tell in the sponge, if you look at it, if it's saturated or it's dry. But nonetheless, it doesn't change the fact. The sponge is full of liquid, and therefore you can, whenever you want, squeeze it, and you will see how much liquid there is there. So therefore, perhaps we can say that while a person is in their younger years, perhaps they're more like a shevet, which means a branch. And sometimes a person in their golden years are perhaps considered more like a staff. A person that's younger needs to be active and needs to express their talents that Hashem gave them and to accomplish major things in their life. A person that's in their golden years often has a rich life behind them, and hopefully for many happy years ahead, full of experience, full of learning, and you've been shaped already. You're really in your place. It's much harder for a person to change when they're in their older years. So the real trick is to blend between the branch and the staff, the younger years and the golden years. The younger years, the people that are younger need to help those that are older and help them be more mobile and more active. And the advantage of those of us that are in our golden years are to direct the youth, because those of us that are in our golden years are more strong in our opinion, in our experience, and we are able to direct the younger people that they should go in the right way. sometimes when the youth, they're so into their own ways of life that they do things which are not necessarily correct. So that's why we need to have the guidance of those of us in our golden years to make sure that they're directed in the proper way. The same thing is every single person within their own daily life. In the earlier hours of the day, we are quote unquote younger, we are quote unquote more active, and in the more evening hours of the day, the later hours of the day, we move a little slower, and we're closer to going to sleep, but we still need to accomplish a lot, and we need to feel youthful, but we need to realize that we've accomplished a lot during this day, and that's something which should not be taken lightly. So there are some people that in their golden years, or when they feel less youthful, they start complaining, oy vey, that we're not younger anymore, and there's no energy. We've missed out years of excitement and experience. The answer is that we should never ever think so. We should always appreciate from Hashem that which He gave us, and the ability to be able to do whatever we have done. That is divine providence. But at the same time, to realize that the golden years are also very precious. And we have to live our lives properly at every moment of our lives. Just like every moment of our day, so too every moment of our lives. We can always feel renewed. If we blend between the feeling of the staff and the feeling of the branch, every day we can feel renewed, and we can have this youthfulness within us. The great writer and thinker, Elie Wiesel, came from the city Munkach. There was a great Rebbe, the Rebbe of Munkach, and when Elie was young, before the war, he was part of the Hasidic movement of Vishnitz. Over here in Eretz Yisrael, there is a very large following to the Vishnitz Hasidim, Vishnitzer Rebbe. The horrific Shoah, the horrific Holocaust, shook him. He himself saw the atrocities which took place. And unfortunately, after the war, he left the way of Torah. And he also made a firm resolution that he's never going to be married again. Unfortunately, he had been married, and I believe he had at least one child, his wife and child were murdered from the Nazis. And on a number of occasions, he came in New York to meet our Rebbe. And when he came into the Rebbe for a private audience the first time, he expressed in front of the Rebbe his ideas about marriage and having a family. He said, how could I bring children to such a bad and cruel world? What kind of lack of responsibility would this be? I will not do this. I refuse to get married and raise a family. He knew that the Rebbe's life's mission is to ignite the Yiddish, the Pintel Yid, the Jewish spark in every Jew, and to bring them closer to Torah and mitzvot. So therefore, he made sure to inform the Rebbe, Rebbe, I am a Chassid of Vishnitz, and I'm not planning to change. In other words, his message was, in a diplomatic way, it wasn't so diplomatic, but don't try to inspire me to do Torah and mitzvot. So the Rebbe said, no, the main thing is that you're a chassid. In other words, he himself identified himself as being a chassid of Vishnitz. So you yourself gave yourself the title of being a chassid. Around a year after that Yechidus, Eli Wiesel came on Simchat Torah to the Rebbe's Hakafot in 770. And there were thousands of people that had crammed into 770, but they didn't feel being crammed. The Simcha was so great that they were all elevated to a higher plane. Anyone who had the zechut to be at the Rebbe's Hakafot knows exactly what I'm talking about and realizes that this is a special experience that will never be erased from their mind. Of course, Eli Wiesel was honored to stand next to the Rebbe's stage. And in middle or before the Hakafot, the Rebbe gave him a big smile, and the Rebbe said, "It's very nice that the Chassid of Vishnitz came to Lubavitch to see how the Hakafot are done." So Eli Wiesel responded to the Rebbe, "Yes. Now I'm not in Vishnitz. Now I'm in Lubavitch. So I'll do like they do in Lubavitch." So the Rebbe said, "Yes, it's a good idea to do like we do in Lubavitch." So Eli said, "And what do you do in Lubavitch?" So the Rebbe said, "We say L'chaim." So Eli Wiesel answered, "Also in Vishnitz we say L'chaim." So the Rebbe asked Rabbi Groner, his secretary, to fill up a full cup of mashke, of L'chaim for Eli Wiesel. And in his wisdom he said to the Rebbe, "In Vishnitz the custom is not to say L'chaim alone." So the Rebbe answered, "Also in Lubavitch." So the Rebbe took a big cup of mashke, and together they said L'chaim. But it's not over yet. When they finished this cup, the Rebbe turned to Eli Wiesel and said, "In Vishnitz, 1 cup of L'chaim is enough?" So Wiesel answered, "No. One cup is only like a drop in the sea." So once again, the Rebbe told Rabbi Groner to pour Eli Wiesel another cup, and together they said L'chaim. At this point, Eli Wiesel started to feel the effect of the mashke in his mind. But the Rebbe did not leave it at that. And the Rebbe says, "In Vishnitz, do they go till the end or they leave in the middle?" So Eli Wiesel said they continued till the end. Rabbi Groner poured both the Rebbe and Eli Wiesel a third cup. And at this point, Eli Wiesel was very, very tipsy, to say the least. And he said it with a beautiful smile. And the Rebbe said it with a smile, "Eli Wiesel, I want to bless you. With what should I bless you?" Eli Wiesel was quiet. And the Rebbe wished him, "Hashem should give you the koach, the energy, to start from a new beginning." The Rebbe's intention was very clear. He wished Eli Wiesel that even though he had terrible memories from the atrocities of the Shoah, of the Holocaust, he should find within himself new energy to get married, to build his home, to reshape his life, which will be built on the foundation of Torah and mitzvot, not only in his heart, but also in action. Eli Wiesel told over, and he wrote in his book, that this special heartfelt wishes from the Rebbe, that he should build everything from new, lit his neshama, ignited his neshama, and gave him the koach to be able to start everything from new. He got married. Him and his wife had a baby boy, and they called him Elisha, on the name of the baby's grandfather, Eli Wiesel's father. This amazing story of Eli Wiesel clarifies for us crystally how important it is for us to hold on and be like a shevet, be renewed like a branch, even though it might be a difficult situation. And when we hold on to Yiddishkeit like a branch, and we stand steadfast like a staff, then we know that we are on the right path. I just want to finish off with telling you that we had over here several years ago an amazing activity. It's still on a low flame, but in Mirz Hashem, we hope soon to be reigniting it. It was called Lev Tzair, Young at Heart. We even have a website, Young at Heart, Lev Tzair. We're big on Facebook. The idea was and remains to put together groups of teenagers together with our friends and the many people over here in Rechavia and Achlaot that are in their golden years, and to do projects together, to do personal things together, like going shopping and going to the park and doing things. And it was very, very successful, and we hope, Bezrat Hashem, to be able to continue it very soon. And that's the idea, to keep young. So it's not like it's either this or that. In summary, we have those of us that are young in age and those of us that are young in spirit. But we're all young. We have to thank Hashem for the age which we are in. We have to pray to Hashem for many more healthy and happy years, and to be able to blend between the youthfulness of the age and the youthfulness of our spirit. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a wonderful Shabbat. Tonight, Mincha at Bet Chabad is going to be at 7:25. Tomorrow morning, we have a shir at 9 o'clock. Special davening for Rosh Chodesh. We want to see all of you over here at Chabad of Rechavia for davening. We have a big Kiddush tomorrow in honor of a special yard site. And we look forward to seeing all of you over here, Bezrat Hashem, on Shabbat. And next week, only in a happy way, we should have a good Shabbat and a good Chodesh. All the best.